Okay, hi everyone, so you're all very welcome. My name's Kate, I work in the Student Recruitment Department at RCSI. Joining us today, we have 3 final year physiotherapy students, Aoife, Gemma and Sean. Thank you all for joining us today. So in this session, it's an opportunity for everyone to ask any questions they might have on the life of a current RCSI physiotherapy student. So if we just start off, if you'd all like to introduce yourselves, maybe tell us a bit about yourselves. If we start with you, Aoife.
Hi, so my name's Aoife and I'm from Dublin and I'm in my final year of physiotherapy in RCSI and I came in straight from school.
Thank you. And next I have Gemma.
Hey guys, my name's Gemma. I'm from Limerick and also in final year physio, and I came in the same way as Aoife, literally through CAO from school.
Great stuff. And Sean?
Yeah, and I'm the same as guys, came straight from school. My name is Sean, I'm from Galway and final year physiotherapy.
Great, thank you guys. So just to remind all the attendees here, you're all very welcome to type questions into the chat box for our students to answer, or if you want to turn on your microphone, you're very welcome to speak to the students and ask a question as well. And just a reminder, these are our student ambassadors and they're available on our Unibody chat with us function through our website as well. So to start off, maybe we'll just think about what was it that appealed to you about physiotherapy in the first place? If we start with you, Aoife.
So I did some work experience in a hospital in TY. So I kind of saw a lot of different hospital jobs like medicine, nursing, kind of more the science side. And I just really liked the physio side because you kind of really get to know people and work with a lot of different people. So then I decided that would be what I would work towards putting on my CAO. And then RCSI was my first choice. Okay,
great. And what was it about RCSI in particular that appealed to you?
I really liked where the campus was. So I'm from Swords, so getting into Dublin city centre, that was pretty handy. I really liked that all the buildings are just across the road from each other, so I wouldn't be having to trek around the place. I really liked the smaller course size because I thought I'd get more one-on-one kind of time. And I really liked that RCSI give you accommodation for your placements.
Yes, absolutely. That's really handy. Just to let everyone know, when you are on placements, the peripheral accommodation is organised through our Student Services Department, who you can attend a chat with later on today for more information. So Gemma, if we go to you now, what was it that appealed to you about physiotherapy and RCSI in particular?
So physio itself, I think I had kind of a similar enough experience to Aoife. We have kind of a rehab centre in the town where I'm from. Kind of smaller scale than a hospital, but still you'd have your OTs, nurses, doctors, kind of the whole care team. And I think definitely physio appealed to me the most. I got to shadow one of the physios there and I just felt what she was doing was really helpful to the patients. It was so patient interaction. It's not all just paperwork. It definitely makes your day a bit more interesting. And then RCSI itself, so I'm from Limerick and most of the physiotherapy programs, as everyone probably knows, are in Dublin. But what appealed to me about RCSI was similar to Aoife, kind of the smaller class size, kind of the smaller campus. It's not as daunting as maybe other colleges are if you're trying to find your way around. It's much easier in RCSI. And even the atmosphere itself was just very friendly when I went to the open day, and it's continued through my whole college experience.
That's great. Yeah, I think the city centre campus is really appealing to a lot of people. And Sean, how about you? What appealed to you about RCSI and the physiotherapy programme?
Yeah, so I suppose physio kind of came from, I suppose, being involved in sport and getting injured and dealing with physio. And then I suppose, you know, you kind of think sports physio is what physio is, but then when you understand it a bit more, you realize kind of how broad it is and how many kind of different opportunities there is. So kind of I like that, obviously the sports element, but just how broad it was in general. And again, you're dealing with people kind of on a daily basis. That's you know, your job is with people, so it's quite a nice job to be able to help in some sort of way. Similar enough to the guys, like the small class sizes. I was in a small enough secondary school, so you know, we'd only 30 odd in our class in school, and it's the same here. There's only 33 in final physio. So you get to know everyone quite well, and you do get, you know your lecturers on a first name basis, which is quite nice. So that's probably why.
Yeah, great to have the opportunity to get to know all the faculty and your classmates really well with the smaller class sizes.
Yeah.
Great stuff. And can I ask you guys, from the time when you were doing your CEO applications in your final year and thinking about courses, did what you get when you then registered at RCSI, is it what you expected? Was the program different to how you thought it might be? Was there any surprises when you registered? Or do you feel like you had a good idea already about what it would be like, maybe in terms of how practical the course is? Was there anything like that you were or weren't expecting?
I think the open day gives a good picture. I went to the in-person open day when I was in 6th year, and I think it gave me a good idea kind of the atmosphere of RCSI, because I went to a lot of talks. I went to all the talks, the medicine, the pharmacy, the physio, just to see what it was like. So I think I got a good idea of kind of what I was getting myself into from that.
Okay, that's brilliant. And obviously, as we've said, you're all in your final year now, but if you can sort of cast your minds back and give the attendees today a bit of an idea of first year in general, how did that feel? How was that being a new student, and what was the first year like?
So the first year, just for kind of anyone at the talk today, it's called foundation year. So you kind of start off literally going through all the sciences. You do like the basics, biology, chemistry, physics, and then kind of the basics of kind of the body. So you might do like the nervous system, heart, lungs. You do everything kind of as a start in foundation year. And in that year, you're with the first year med students. So all your lectures are nearly with the 300 med students that might be there, which for me took me by surprise. I don't know, was I expecting that? But just so you're aware, that's what goes on. And then when you go from foundation year, then the second year of college will be first physio. And that's when the class kind of breaks down into the smaller size of kind of the 30 of you. And that's when you really start doing the hands-on practical skills and kind of the physio-specific aspects of the nervous system, heart, lungs, kind of the body like that. I think that's just a good heads up to know what your first year is like versus the other years.
Yeah, that's great, Gemma. Thank you. And I suppose I'd like to know, what have been, looking back on your years at RCSI, what have been the highlights of the course? What have been your favourite things about studying physiotherapy over the past few years?
One of my favorite things I would say is because it's so small, you end up being so close to everyone. Like when we were in foundation year, we used to have the physiotherapy row, and in with all of the medicine students, all of the physio students, we would all sit in a row together, always in the same place. So we got to know each other really well. We really helped each other through. So we bonded really quickly. So I don't think you get that bond that quickly in other courses. So I've really enjoyed that. And we still have that bond now.
Oh, that's great to hear. That's wonderful. Sean, any particular highlights of the course for you?
I think kind of just how practical it is. You see like, different students in other courses, doing a lot of, say, book study and stuff. And we're kind of fortunate enough that, some of our study might be, to go over and do, a bit of assessment over in the movement lab that we have access to, or it might be, taping this year, or it might be some sort of hands-on stuff that it's really quite practical. And then you couple that with the placements as well, and it just gives you a really good idea of what your career is going to be like. You have a really good idea of the job, and yeah, that's probably been the best part about it. It's just how practical it's been.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. That's wonderful. And I suppose it gives you more of a feel for what your career is going to be like, rather than heavily sat at a desk looking at papers and things. Wonderful. And just the movement lab that you mentioned there, would someone be able to tell the attendees today a bit more about the movement lab, the clinical simulation facilities at RCSI, and how you've experienced those?
So I suppose the movement lab is it's a room here in the Stephen's Green campus that the School of Physio has. So it's quite a big room, but it would have lots of different kind of physio equipment in it, different plents, so the beds you'd use, and it's kind of where we do all our practical work. So the lecturers will come up and they might go through different assessments, different treatments. So that's all done in the movement lab, is what we call it, and then that's open for us, say, in certain evenings, then to go in and practice ourselves. So it's quite handy to have.
That's great. Thank you for the overview. And again, I suppose just for the attendees today, what sort of advice would you give to someone who's maybe thinking about studying physiotherapy, wondering if it's right for them, looking into applying? Do you have any sort of words of wisdom as final year students? Oh, sorry, Aoife, I think you may be on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Just how broad it is, like Sean said, like a lot of people don't expect that patients in ICU get physiotherapy every day. Like most patients in hospital get physio. A lot of people don't think about that kind of physio. They only think of the side of the pitch or the Olympics or like the top tier of the sports physio. So if you could get some experience like shadowing like Gemma did to see what the average day of being a physio in a hospital is actually like, or even talk to someone if you can't get experience due to COVID, just so you know what the job is really like.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you, Aoife. And just you touched on placements there, just to let everyone know that you have all recently completed some placements, haven't you? Maybe if you'd be happy to all give a little overview about what you were up to before Christmas, where you were based, how that all went. If we start with you, Aoife.
Yeah, so I was in Kerry for 5 weeks and my placement was inpatient orthopedics. So it was nearly all hip fractures. So after the patients had hip fractures, they would normally have surgery, and then it would be getting them up and moving after their surgery so that they could go home. And it would be a lot of like getting out of the bed, starting to walk, using a frame or crutches, strengthening up the leg, and then always working towards going home if possible.
Wonderful, thank you. And Gemma, how about you? How was your latest placement?
I was down in CUH down in Cork City, and I was doing neurology, which really covers so much in the hospital. I was in the gym specifically itself. You had patients coming down from the ward down to you specifically for treatment. Every treatment was an hour long, and every patient I saw was different. You covered so many conditions, say like Parkinson's, strokes, MS. If people are just deteriorating, maybe post-fall, it could be issues to do with that. I had a couple of patients who just suffered really severe kind of trauma injuries from car accidents. That's still covered under you. So it was really broad, really interesting. I think I learned loads, got to see loads, and definitely gave me an idea kind of what a neurology kind of physio career would be like.
Wow, okay, so a real broad variety in that placement. Okay, great, thank you for sharing. And Sean, how was your last placement? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I was down in Tralee in Kerry in the hospital with Aoife. I was doing neurology as well, so kind of just all things to do with the brain. People who've had, like Gemma was saying, strokes or Parkinson's or different things to do with the brain. So it was really interesting. Yeah, you learn so much on placements. They're kind of really, it can be daunting. Your first few days of every placement, but I think everyone feels the same, and it's really kind of mind blowing how much you do know, how much you learn, from day one to the last day of your 5-week placement. It's kind of quite a nice time. The 5 weeks you do see an awful lot. So
yeah, it sounds like you've all had great experiences there, and obviously great to see sort of the real world and what you're preparing to expect next year onwards. So just to remind all the attendees, if you have any questions about the physiotherapy program, you're very welcome to turn your microphone, ask a question, or type into the chat box. So we might ask you some questions about being a student at RCSI aside from the program. So I think one thing that a lot of prospective students wonder about is accommodation. Now, there will be accommodation chat later on with Ivan from Student Services, our accommodation manager. But from a student perspective, would any of you be able to share some of your accommodation, what your situation was in first year, maybe?
I think I might be one of the best ones here. So I actually stayed in the RCSI accommodation. And the way it works, which when I was applying, obviously, to accommodation as a kind of country student, a bit different. So a lot of other universities, as you might know, do their accommodation lotteries before your offer comes out. But RCSI actually don't open the lottery from accommodation until after you get your offer from RCSI. So after the first round of CAO comes out, then they open their accommodation lottery. And then you'll see on their options, there's 2 accommodations. There's Mercer and Millen, but they're literally located in the same area. You walk in the same gate, and it's just an issue of turning left or right when you come inside. So they're very near each other. And from there, the apartments are usually of 4. So when you go in, you have your apartment of 4, and every bathroom and bedroom are yours. So like your bedroom will have an ensuite, and then it's communal kind of kitchen and living room inside there.
Great. And did you enjoy living in the on-campus accommodation?
Yeah, definitely. I was happened coincidentally to be living with one of the girls in our course now, also in final physio, and with one of the girls from med and then from pharmacy, and would still be very friendly with them from this day. You see them walking around campus and everything. You definitely get to know a lot of people from different courses, be it in your apartment, the apartment across the way, on your way to college, that way. And a great thing about the accommodation is it's literally a 2-minute walk from college. You walk down the road, turn the corner, and you'll see it in front of you. It's very accessible and definitely very good for a first time student in Dublin, kind of learning your way around. It's very good that it's so close to college.
Absolutely, very handy to be so close, and no excuse to ever be late either. That's wonderful. Thank you, Gemma. Something else we might touch on now is just sort of some of the supports available at RCSI. So we have various departments at RCSI set up to help support our students in various ways. Aoife, I wonder if you might provide some information on some of the supports available at RCSI.
So RCSI have so much support available. So when you go into physiotherapy in foundation year, you have what's called an academic tutor, and that's one of the lecturers in the School of Physio, and they're kind of the person you can go to if you have any issues. You can arrange a meeting with them to talk about it, and they'll either be able to help you or they'll be able to point you in the right direction. And that person is your academic mentor for the 4 years of college. So even if they can't help you, they can point you on to someone who can. And then you have, so when you're doing your placements, then you have what's called the practice education team. So if you have any placement sort of queries or issues, you can link in with them and they're always happy to help you. And then you can also get loads of support from the SARA office. So we have like accessibility and facilitation. So if you have a disability or some additional learning needs, like RCSI will support you so well. No hurdle is too much. Nothing is ever too much of an ask. Everyone is always so willing to help you. So I would say if you're shy about coming forward for the support, definitely look for it, because anyone is more than happy to help you.
Great, thanks so much, Aoife. It's great to hear that you feel like you have been well supported at RCSI.
Definitely.
So one other thing I wanted to raise, which Sean, I'm going to go to you for this one. There's always a lot of interest in clubs, sports, societies at RCSI. What's the situation with club sports and societies at RCSI? Is there a lot of options for incoming students?
Yeah, so clubs and societies are probably my favorite part, have been my favorite part of college. There's such a wide range of clubs and societies. I suppose personally, I've been involved in the Physio Society and the GA Club, and we've had some good success this year. But it's just such a good way to meet people outside of your course, whether that's different years of physio or it's pharmacy or medicine students, and it's just a really great social outlet. I'll have lifelong friends from the clubs and societies that we've been involved in, and there's just such a range. It's not just sport clubs. There's loads of different clubs. I won't even list them. I think there's a list on the website. There's over 60, I think, clubs and societies. So there is, there's something for everyone. And I'd really encourage people who do come to college to kind of keep an open mind and immerse yourself into clubs and societies, because that's where you'll really kind of understand what RCSI is all about.
That's great, thank you. And great to know that you have time to be involved in sports and societies, as well as doing your studies and your placements. There's room for it all to fit in. And am I right in saying that, at the start of the year, when the registrations are open for the clubs and the teams, everyone's welcome. What I hear from students is that all the teams are very welcoming to everyone, from beginner level, if you've never played a certain sport before, to if you're an expert in secondary school at it. Everyone's sort of welcoming at RCSI with the sports and societies.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually, I suppose, pre-COVID times, there's usually a big clubs and societies fair, which used to be down in the sports hall, which was always good, but that moved virtually. But yeah, it's open to everyone. And even the Physio Society, we've held events this year, and it's not just physios that come to them. It's medicine students, pharmacy students, and similar like the GA Club, it's not just players who've played before. It's people from all over the world. We've people from Asia, from Canada on the team. So all the clubs and societies are really inclusive. Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear. They're also welcoming and inclusive. Brilliant. And just to let everyone know, there will be a talk later on with the Student Services Department. So you'll be able to ask more questions about the gym, sports centre, clubs and societies there with the Student Services team. So we're having a few questions coming through the chat box now, so we might look at those. So we've got someone asking what any of you are thinking to do once you complete the degree after you graduate. So do you have sort of set career paths in mind?
I think I would like to work in a hospital to start with, and I'd like to do what's called your rotations. So when you start as a physiotherapist, the job is called being a staff grade. That's the position. And normally you're in like an area, so like neurology or outpatients, and you'd be there for a few months, maybe 4, and then you would rotate. So you rotate through all the different areas of the hospital to build up your experience. So I think I'd like to do that so that I can see all the different areas of physiotherapy, and then once I've given them all a good go, I'll have more of an idea of what I would like to maybe specialize in the future.
That sounds great. Yeah, getting to see a bit of all different areas before you focus on what you want to specialize in. Amazing. And Gemma, how about you? What are your plans after graduation?
Unfortunately, very similar to Aoife's again. I won't be able to offer you anything different, but I do think it's a great option because you learn so much in just your 5 weeks of placement. I can't even imagine how much you'd learn if you're 4 weeks in the same rotation. So definitely I feel it would help you really build up your confidence kind of as a new grad. Kind of you might feel like, oh, still feel a bit like a student. So it's definitely a good kind of way to transition, I think, personally, kind of into the working as a physio, kind of building up. Everyone's there to help you and to go through all the areas. So I think by the end of your rotation, definitely I think I'll feel a lot more confident and able.
Absolutely. Oh, that sounds great. And Sean, how about you? What are your plans?
Yeah, similar enough. I think a hospital. I've really enjoyed the placements I've done. So I think hospital probably at the minute. But like there's so many kind of options really. You know, I'd like to travel at some stage, and obviously the degree is recognized kind of around the world. So that'll be something that I'll hope to do at some stage. But yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. So we've had someone else asking, do you feel under pressure when working with actual clients after the simulated experience? So I suppose, you know, when you're going out on your placements or thinking about working after graduation, how has the movement room and the simulation centre and learning at RCSI sort of set you up for working with the real people and the real patients?
The simulation gives you a really good base, because you can do no wrong, really. Like nobody, like you're completely safe, you're completely supported. So then that really helps to build your confidence, so that when you go out on placement, you can think, oh, well, I could do this in the simulation. But it can be daunting when you're in the hospital setting. But when you start, you're not on your own. You have an educator who's a qualified physiotherapist, and they're with you, and you tell the patients you're a student. And everyone I've met has been so understanding and so happy for me to learn from them. So you worry that people might not want you to learn with them, but I've never experienced anyone who doesn't want me to learn in the hospital environment. So
oh, that's wonderful to hear. Everyone has to start somewhere, so that's great that there's been support from RCSI, but also from the patients that you've worked with so far. And Gemma, Sean, do you feel the same with the sort of the simulations great for building your confidence?
Yeah, definitely. So even the simulated patients have kind of even been giving a script and kind of what to say, kind of things they should kind of hit you at and target to see if you know. So they nearly test you more than actual patients, because actual patients don't know everything. And they're asking you questions out of complete curiosity, and they want to know more about their condition and are more than willing to learn from you and let you learn from them. And kind of the same as Aoife, you are supported kind of by your educator, particularly in your earlier placements. They'll come with you, see a patient with you, talk through the case, kind of tell you what you should be asking the patient, what you should look for, maybe treatment ideas. And then the same kind of experience when you are with the patient and you're saying, oh, I'm a student physio, the same approach, kind of, oh, we all have to start from somewhere. I'm more than happy to let you practice on me. You know, you're not doing anything wrong. Whatever you're doing, I'm sure is helping. And I'm not going to give out to you. Like, I think you're helping me a lot. And they're very appreciative of your time, that you're so willing to help them.
That's amazing. That's great to hear that it's been supportive from both sides the whole time. Wonderful. And just as you mentioned placements there, we have had a question, what year do you start placements? So I suppose if someone could give a bit of an overview of which which placements you've had, in what years?
So placements should technically kind of start at the end of your second year. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for us because that happened to be when COVID hit. So we did our first placement at the very start of third year, and it was a simulated placement. Literally took place in RCSI with simulated patients with a variety of conditions. And then your first hospital placement starts in the October of your third year of physio.
All right, great, thank you. We've had a question about sort of, I suppose, time management is really what it's about. Now, I know we touched on this with the sports and societies, but someone's asking about the coursework and the course load, how consuming it is, how much time you've had for other things outside the course. So if anyone can maybe give a bit of a look into their work life, course life balance.
I think it's been quite good for the physiotherapy course that there is, you know, coming around to exams and stuff, you do put in kind of a good bit of time and a good bit of effort, but throughout the year we do kind of have time to, well, we make time to get involved in clubs and societies, and like if you go through the list of people in our class, there's people are involved in so many different things, both inside of college through club and societies and outside of college as well. You know, people are working, people are playing sport. So I suppose it can be tricky to find the balance, but you know, I suppose there definitely is time to get involved outside of the course as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that's really great to hear. And obviously we're all looking forward to things becoming a bit more normal and hopefully more time for sports and clubs and socializing. Obviously you've all been at RCSI since before COVID-19, the pandemic started. How has it kind of, you know, changed? How's life as a student adjusted? And obviously this is probably a silly question, but are you all looking forward to things hopefully being a bit more normal now this year?
Yeah, so we kind of had, I guess, a normal first year, like fully on campus, no COVID. And then second year kind of hit in March. So it was the same as everyone. It was the first lockdown, just everything was online. But then we came back in third year. We're lucky enough that because physio was such a hands-on course, we do have to come in a couple of days a week. So at the moment, we're coming in 3 days a week to do our practical classes, get those skills that you just can't learn online. You need to be there to physically carry them out, get feedback on, etc. And then the placement has definitely helped to kind of be in-person college. You're still going out to the hospital, you're doing a full day, you're doing a full week. So you definitely feel like, oh, I'm not at home looking at my laptop 24/7. You are really getting out and getting good experience and still getting the college experience, which is great.
That's great. Yes, absolutely. Still getting on campus and getting that hands-on experience, as you say. Wonderful. And we've just had a question come in about the assessment schedule, and the types of exams you have, things like that. Would anyone be able to give a bit of an overview how you found the assessments, the type of assessments you've had so far?
So for foundation year, that was all written it was mostly written assessments, and I think there was a few group projects. So pre-COVID, you'd come in, you'd write the exam paper, you'd go home, and then when you get into the physio years, it comes to more practical exams. So we had one exam which in first year, it's called an OSCE. So it was kind of like a circuit. So there was 10 stations, I think, and we would rotate, and some of them were written stations and some of them were practical stations. And then other years, so coming up, we have a written paper for one module, and then we're also going to have a taping practical. So it's a mixture of written and practical to show your skills and also your knowledge base as the course goes on.
Okay, so there's quite a variety. So you have the written and the practical assessments throughout the course. Thanks so much for that overview, Aoife. Now, unfortunately, we have come to the end of this session. So I just want to thank everyone for attending, and a big thank you to Aoife, Gemma and Sean for being our student panel today. Just a reminder, if anyone has any other questions, you can email admissions@rcsi.ie, or you can use the chat with us function on the RCSI website to speak to our student ambassadors if you have any questions you'd like answered from a student perspective. Big thank you again to everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the open day. Bye.